Today on Locked On Rockies, well, the Rockies aren't done making additions, though the latest one isn't the most exciting. Plus, them Rockies don't have good outlooks for 2024.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 7th day of February in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day. Right on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. Let me know what's on your mind, your Rockies hot takes, all that good stuff. You're helping the show grow as well when you like and subscribe and comment on the videos. So really, really do appreciate all that. Really do appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. I'm your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk here on the Locked On Podcast Network for around 4 seasons now, and been following this team my entire life. We're going to be talking about poor projections for the Rockies again. Unfortunately, the Rockies can't escape this narrative, and we'll also talk about the Rockies adding a depth piece to the outfield. And I want to ask, do the Rockies need a little bit more of a look refresh? We get a look at their spring training caps and batting practice caps this year, and I'm liking the purple, but I still think that the Rockies can benefit from an updated look. We'll talk about that here and lots more, all on today's episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast. But before we dive into everything, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. And so I wanted to start by bringing up again another topic. And again, this is something I think that we have to continuously point out and bring up. Bad projections for the Rockies. And when I say bad, I mean the Rockies, the outlook for the Rockies is bad. Baseball prospectus PECOTA standings have the Rockies at basically the worst team in baseball. They basically are saying that the Rockies have the least amount of chance to win games. There's only one team slightly underneath them in their projections, and it is the Washington Nationals. So when I see this stuff and when I understand the situation, as this one's basically runs simulated games is how this works. It's basically just it's basically trying to figure out how likely are the Rockies to win ball games is kind of how this simulation works and how they bring things up. It's obviously way above my pay grade and probably yours, but regardless, it's advanced math and statistics, and these numbers and simulations show that the Rockies are going to be the worst team in baseball by and kind of by a long shot when you start factoring it outside of Washington. The other teams to finish at the bottom of their divisions and their win totals, Pittsburgh's at 73 projected wins, Oakland's at 64, and you can round up to 65 there for Oakland. The White Sox at 66, the Red Sox at 80 wins. And I just sit there and I really do wonder, like, is it because the White Sox benefit from a bad division that they are projected to be much better than the Rockies? Like, what do these other teams have that make them better? And mind you, could be star pitching in certain instances. We know that, and there's certain players. The A's kind of makes a little bit more sense for the A's to be a team more on the rise than the team that's going to be as bad as we've seen in the past. You would hope that this team of youngsters and young guys, as they continue to play a little bit more, gets better, and the A's play creative baseball. But I still don't sit here and think that the A's are going to be able to just stroll their way to, I know I'm saying it's pretty crazy, stroll their way to 64 wins or 65 wins. Are we fully confident that the A's are 7 games better than the Rockies? And mind you, Oakland's got to play in a tough division too, at least 3 out of the 4 competitors that they have there. Houston, Texas, and Seattle are all going to be fighting for playoff spots and all going to be fighting for an opportunity at October. Houston, a 12.1% chance at the World Series, according to this model. The second highest odds, or third highest odds, I apologize, out of all of the projections. And so I think that this is it's something that I might get a reminder of why things can get so frustrating. Are the Rockies this bad, or are the Rockies just such a product as well of a better division? The rest of the NL West, in terms of simulated wins here from the baseball prospectus here, the Dodgers at 101. D-backs at 85, San Francisco at 81, San Diego at 80. And then the Rockies at 58, 104 losses, this team being worse than last year. And even with the schedule, even with the question marks with the starting rotation, even with the question marks with some of the bullpen arms, I don't think the Rockies are as bad as they were last year. I truly don't think so. A fully healthy Rockies team is going to be better. What I don't see in these projections is the Rockies are not worse with Chris Bryant and Brendan Rodgers in the lineup. And I know that there's factors in there, but if the Rockies come out of spring healthy, I still think that this is a team that is going to show everybody there's a little bit more there. It's still far away to go. Rockies still one of the worst teams in baseball. I'm not getting away from that. But when the gap seems so high and so different between these other teams, when I look at these projections, I just wonder a little bit. Is Kansas City really already in a spot that they are 12 wins? They're projected to win 12 more ball games than the Rockies this year? I don't know if I buy that. Heck, I don't even know if I buy the Angels at 74.5. Some of these a lot of these numbers look pretty good, and I really do think it's a fact of the matter of these other divisions. And it's just a reminder, too. Think about this. If the Rockies were in the central divisions, which are just absolute jokes compared to the rest of the league, the Rockies are that far behind these teams. I just don't think so. I think if the Rockies matched up with these other teams, they would benefit so much, but it's not the reality. I understand that. I get that. But I don't think the Rockies are as bad as these projections make them seem, because I think since they play all the teams and since they play less division games, that gives them the opportunity to win more ball games, to win more series, to be effective against these bad teams. One thing that the Rockies can surprise people with is if they come out of the gate strong, they will beat teams that have playoff hopes. I don't think the Rockies have enough depth and talent to carry them to a magical run where they even finish above 500. But maybe it's the homer in me. Maybe it's me being a naive Rockies fan, I guess. I just don't sit there and think that these other teams are that much better than the Rockies, are that much more well-organized than the Rockies, are in that much better places than the Rockies. especially if you can get decent performances from your starters. And again, we've talked about this rotation not being great, but can they be good? Kyle Freeland above WAR last year, 1.7 WAR, and you know that he can be streaky and having some bad luck. But again, not bad. You can't be a bad pitcher and finish with a near 2 WAR. It doesn't work that way. Austin Gomber, 1.1, not great, even teetering on the good side, but fine. Enough, puts you in situations to win. We'll see about these other additions. We'll see about these young guys, and we'll see what the impact of German Marquez can mean. But I don't think these projections really value the fact that Brendan Rodgers is an all-star caliber player. Chris Bryant does have a history of being a successful offensive threat. If those things pan out, if both of those players have impactful seasons, the Rockies will see a massive increase, especially if you have sustained and improved success from your young core mixed with your all underrated third baseman. The potential upside for the Colorado Rockies exists. And while the math and the numbers and things don't show it, and the Rockies themselves have to prove it, I'm not going to sit here and ignore that. And I'm not going to sit here and believe that the Rockies are that confidently in the cellar of the entire league. But again, I want to put a bow on all of this by saying this is a Rockies team that's still going to lose 88 plus games, 90 plus games, 95 plus games. That is possible. But I don't think the Rockies repeat with the 100 losses this year, let alone 104. That's just me. Because if they do prove us wrong, and if they do start off strong and they can go through that beginning of the season and be successful, shows that the Rockies got a little bit more life and a little bit more pulse than people might think. All right, Rockies do make a move. We'll talk about it. It's not all that exciting, at least to me, but it makes sense in what you're going for and the potential there. We'll talk about that move coming up here in segment number 2. But before we do that, though, got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel, who got you covered for all the big game action this weekend, as it is, of course, Super Bowl time. No better time to get involved with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Why? Because you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Maybe you're kind of going on the operating approach of me of, why are we betting against Patrick Mahomes again? Why do we keep doing on that? Maybe you're really buying high on Travis Kelce. Maybe you like the Colorado kid and the McCaffrey connection. There's been some interesting lines about McCaffrey yards, rushing yards, and such. Why not see all the action for yourself at America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel? If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. Join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel as well, where you can be part of the show. And speaking of YouTube, Locked On's got you covered. If you need more sports coverage, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now you can find it on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports story of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. All right, folks, we were talking about more projections for the Rockies. And again, of how I think that if the Rockies stay healthy, the projections hopefully will be proven a little bit wrong. But of course, the team has to show us that they're going to be better. The team has to outperform their expectations as well, and they have to stay healthy. So we'll see how that pans out. But in order to stay healthy, in order to get through a full season, the Rockies do make a signing, and they do go out and sign Bradley Zimmer. Let's read from friend Skylar Timmons over at Purple Row. One of the main goals for the Colorado Rockies this offseason was to fill out their bench, specifically by adding a left-handed outfielder capable of playing all three outfield positions. Zimmer, 31, was once a highly regarded prospect for Cleveland after he was drafted 21st overall in 2014. He made his debut in 2017 at the age of 24 with sights on becoming the everyday center fielder in Cleveland. In his rookie season, he batted .241, .307, .385 with 8 home runs and 18 stolen bases in 101 games. Since then, he hasn't quite panned out in the big leagues. From 2018 to 21, Zimmer batted .215, .312, .323 with 11 home runs in just 162 games with Cleveland. He was traded to the Blue Jays at the start of the 22 season, was claimed off the waivers by the Phillies. In 117 plate appearances over 109 games in 2022, Zimmer slashed .124, .207, .229 with a 25 OPS plus, and he didn't play a game in the majors last season. His batting still not there. But what about this? Strikeouts have been a hindrance to his career to the tune of a 33.7% rate. Additionally, he has struggled to draw walks. His walk rate is below average, 7.8%. His ability to get on base, despite a 67.9% contact rate, quickly negates his speed that ranks in the upper percentile in baseball. Zimmer's bat has not developed over his career, but his defense has remained decent enough to handle any outfield spot. He holds a career DRS of 15 in the outfield, including 13 in center field. And he has a blah, blah, blah. Those are Skylar and his numbers. I don't need those. But basically, they're saying, hey, here's a worse version of Brenton Doyle that we can play out there as someone that's not going to be able to be effective and hit, but someone that if they do get on base can be speedy and they have a great glove. There is a couple of web gems of him making some solid defensive plays. For it being a depth piece, for it being a minor league deal, for this being really a no risk move for the Rockies, fine, great. But let it be known, if you stick him in right field and Hunter Goodman's not playing, Michael Tolia's not playing, and the list goes, Sean Bouchard's not playing, I'm gonna have problems with that. Massive problems with that. I don't need to go see a guy that strikes out at a 33, a guy that has been up and down in the majors, strike out at a 33% rate. I'm going to watch the Rockies do that, enough striking out in general. This is a fine move in the scope of what it is. But in the history of the Rockies, you have to sit there and you have to be cautious. You have to be worried about something like this. And we'd be saying this and I'd be saying this about any depth piece. I'd be saying this about Joey Gallo. I'd be saying this about any of these types of moves the Rockies can make and frankly should make. You need depth. You need especially versatile defensive depth for Coors Field. It's just the history of this manager, the history of this franchise, the history of this team that suggests, it's a strong spring from Zimmer. He's got it. Let's get him out in right field. That can't be the mentality. And I don't think that, hopefully it's not the mentality for him. I mean, he's a competitive guy. He's an athlete. He wants to grind. He wants to be in every part of the game. I get that. I totally understand that. But this season, the opportunity comes with playing time. The opportunity for growth comes from putting the right people on the field in the situations so they can get better, so they can be better. And this is a guy that, I mean, hey, maybe there's a renaissance and there's something there. But you still have so much to figure out as you're figuring, as this core develops, as you're going to get close to the trade deadline, as you're figuring out what to do with some pretty big names in the prospect world, in the young guy world, you can't stick with all of these guys forever. They're not playing time. There's not room for all of them as they're all coming up and being major league ready at the same time. So while this will be a fine move for someone that can come off the bench, I mean, and again, we're talking a bench player here. I read those numbers. I know what I just read. I understand. But if he can be a Brenton Doyle-esque, if Brenton Doyle has to miss a game and the Rockies are able to back it up with some pretty solid defense, then that's fine. But my question here is, where's Jonathan Daza? Can Jonathan Daza not do this role? Jonathan Daza isn't, obviously has his struggles too, but it's in that kind of same vein. I believe Jonathan Daza was. I don't think he got claimed by anybody. I could be wrong on him, but again, the point isn't being like me claiming for Jonathan Daza to get more playing time. That's not what I mean. I'm just simply stating that the Rockies' history of blocking players with veterans that have long proven that they're over the hump and not as effective anymore is something that will stick in the back of your mind when you see signings like this. But again, it's the perspective that matters of depth piece, left-handed, plays multiple positions, speedy, bench player. That's what you're hoping for. And I think that's going to be the case. I mean, I don't think the Rockies are going to go crazy overboard here with anything from Bradley Zimmer and hope that something is going to be crazy. But it's just something that, especially, reading from Skylar Timmons here. I mean, I've talked to them multiple times and interacted with both Skylar and Evan on this, where it's just, we can't we can't allow veteran pieces, depth pieces that aren't a part of the big puzzle get in the way. We did it for the first half of last year. We've done it in the past. You've already shown that you can move on. Keep that momentum going. There's probably not really ever going to be a situation that I'd rather see Bradley Zimmer in the game than any of the young guys, than Michael Toglia. Really, realistically, like I said, I hope that Zimmer is the third one, and it's nothing against him. It's just, you've been in the league. You've been trying to prove your way. You've had major league experience. You've had shots at the major league. We got to give these guys the consistent shots. And this is the type of season where you got to see what you got. All right, let's wind down the show with just a quick look at the new spring training hats and the new batting practice hats here. And we'll see if they think, and tell me if you agree with what I think, which is I think the Rockies are due for another new jersey. I do. Let's talk more about this coming up in segment number 3. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show by subscribing, liking the videos, leaving your comments, firing off your Rockies hot takes, letting me know what's on your mind. We've been talking about poor projections for the Rockies here, and depth acquisition and depth philosophy for the Rockies here on the pod today. Wind down the show with a little bit of uniform talk, because new spring training and batting practice hats are out. And I got to tell you, I know it's simple. It's nothing new. And I kind of wish the Rockies would do something new. I think that they are long overdue, as I've been wearing my hat backwards on this episode, but I like the half circle. I know that's been the thing before. They took the mountains and they did the Colorado logo and stuff. I'm glad that we shift from the Colorado logo. Thank you. I love the Colorado flag too, but I am just as guilty as everybody else of overusing and overloving the Colorado flag. Regardless, I love the purple. I like the look. I like the batting practice hat. It just, when I see this purple, the purple, I think the Rockies gotta go back. Like, man, as I've keep going back and forth, I'm okay with the City Connects. I'm okay with the City Connects. But I am not, I don't love the green. I think I know what it is. I know what the I know the idea behind it. I get it. But I just am not, man, in terms of just like what could have been, man, I do like it. I'm looking at this batting practice hat for the Rockies, and they got the stripes, the black stripes with the purple, little main purple with some black stripes. I mean, there's been some cool stuff. I think the Rockies could really benefit from another look, another cool look. I mean, I know the black vests were polarizing, but they were fine. I just, the problem with the Rockies is they have such a cool color, but I don't know if they've ever done enough. And they've never done enough innovation with it. And that's, I think that's what's the most frustrating when I look at the City Connects, when I'm looking at it from, I just see it as like, man, this was a huge chance to kind of do something, you know, creativity, do something crazy, really embody Colorado, the Rockies, and everything. And everything just came back to tourism, masked in nature. Oh, here's a sticker you'd get at the tourist shop. Here's the license plates you'd see on cars. And I get it, but I just don't. And I'm not a design guy. I don't know the first thing about graphic design and really what looks sleek. I'm pretty basic. I'm pretty boring. I would not call myself someone that has a strong eye for fashion. But if you're going to retire the vests, if you are going to open up an available jersey slot for yourself, I think it would be cool. I mean, I like the class. I do think the purple alternates are simple and easy and fine. I think the Rockies outfits or uniforms in general are fine. But something that's bold and purple and cool would be really nice. I mean, you know, the Marlins with the teals, you know, and how the Astros have done some cool stuff with the oranges, and the Mariners have done some cool stuff with their colors. I just think that you can do something really purple and cool. I think that's really the best way to describe it. I think purple is a cool color that you can do some interesting things. Like I was saying, with looking at that batting practice hat, when you look at the purple with the black stripes or with the black pinstripes, that could be some dope pants with some sort of a top. I saw somebody on X really like the Rockies player weekend jerseys. All right, but I'm all right with some purple sleeves. I think that this is, as the Rockies are going to be entering a phase where I think that they need to do a lot of reinventing. You know, they're going to have to make, you know, modernize, keep modernizing Coors Field, modernize the Rockies, you know, remarket this new young core, a really dope purple look. I'd be all in on. It just doesn't stand out though. I'm looking at it though, and the mountain range. It's just the same mountain range the Rockies have always had, thrown with the purple. And we've seen the other Colorado sports teams do some cool stuff. We've seen them, you know, do some modifying, do some, you know, different looks, different color schemes. I don't ever want the Rockies to leave purple. I love the purple. I just want, you know, the green was an interesting one, but I just think that there has to be some room for growth when it comes to the Rockies uniforms. That's just me. What do you think? Let me know. Fire off your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think about the Rockies adding depth and the Rockies projections there. Hopefully we're going to be talking to some more Rockies media this week, so be sure to stay tuned for that as we continue to look ahead towards the season. What might surprise us, who might be the impact pieces. Are the Rockies going to be a better team? all those questions we got to keep bringing up because that's where we're at right now as the Rockies look to prove that they are not going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. I know for sure that we don't have the worst fans in baseball because y'all continue to tune out and tune in and support the show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We really appreciate it here on Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for your support on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, your likes, your subscriptions, all that good stuff over there on Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Really, really helps the show. All right, folks, for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB if you need more baseball talk. But if you need more Colorado sports coverage, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, all ready to keep you up to date with Colorado sports. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.